It's time once again for another episode of Food and Beverage Radio. Broadcasting live from the Pro Business Channel studios in Atlanta. And now, here's your host, Rich-Casanova.
All right, very excited for another episode of Food and Beverage Radio, live from our PBC studios here in Buckhead, the Pro Business Channel. And alongside us this week, we'll be hosting Craig Williams. Welcome to the studio.
Glad to be here, buddy.
You spent a lot of time at the studio, like I'm welcoming you.
Yeah,
like
but I feel welcome, so I appreciate it.
Nice, absolutely. So we have a great message and some content we're going to be sharing here today, a powerful mission. We're going to be talking about stopping child hunger, not only here, I guess, domestically, but internationally around the world. And we have a guest. Let's kind of jump right in and introduce our guest, the co-founder of Stop SAM, and which is an acronym for, I just watched the video, and Mike, help me out. Oh, severe acute malnutrition. All right. Well, that was without notes. All right, pretty good.
There you go.
So I did watch the video. So seriously, Mike-Levison, and so tell us a little bit about yourself, Mike, before we get into kind of the organization we just mentioned. What parts of Atlanta? How long have you been here? What's your backstory?
Well, I'm a native of Atlanta. Seems like we're few and far between these days, but
Yeah.
I was born and raised right here in the Buckhead, Sandy Springs area.
Oh, wow.
Northside, baby?
No, actually. It was before Northside even existed.
At home is at home delivery. Yeah,
Trying to help you out, man. Trying to help you
Georgia
out, man.
Baptist.
Nice.
So again, born and bred here in Atlanta, local businessman. Got family in the restaurant business. My sister has a number of restaurants here in town. She operates at Super Jenny.
Okay, I was
Wow.
going to say, give a
I've
couple
been over
plugs for
there.
those.
I love Super Jenny.
Yeah.
She's killing it.
For a
She's killing
cause.
it.
For those of us who hadn't heard, what's their claim to fame? They're your secret sauce, your unique.
At Super Jenny?
Yeah,
It's soup and salad.
Okay.
And it's she just has a unique atmosphere and a unique blend of personalities. I think she's got 5 locations here in Atlanta now.
It's a very vibrant kind of organic atmosphere and very natural type atmosphere, right?
Yeah. Well, she specializes. She tries to hire actors and actresses wherever she can. So you've got big personalities behind the counter.
Nice.
Big social move there.
All right, and so your background again prior to this organization, have you been in the restaurant business? You said, or just know a lot of folks?
I just know a lot of folks, but no, I'm not in the restaurant business. I'm a local businessman. I operate a company that works with financial institutions to help them mitigate losses on loans and things like that.
Okay.
And Stop SAM is sort of a part-time passion for me. I got involved in this cause, I'd say about 6 years ago. I was actually watching an episode of 60 Minutes one night,
right?
And it was about this sort of miracle product that had been discovered that was remarkably simple but remarkably effective in treating severe acute malnutrition, which is a World Health Organization term for what is essentially the final stage of starvation.
Wow.
Which fortunately we don't really have children that reach that stage here in this
the
country.
U.S.
Yeah.
There's hunger issues, but not that severe.
Exactly. This is literally the sort of the final stage of starvation. And this piece, which was hosted by Anderson Cooper, was really focused on this simple treatment that had been discovered. It was a dietitian had come up with a fortified peanut butter paste, which was basically just peanut butter, powdered milk, some vitamins, and it was producing miraculous results in treating this this terrible affliction. So it was a proven treatment. It was remarkably inexpensive. The only problem was there was a big gap between supply and demand. And so, I don't know, there was something about the piece that just spoke to me. I felt that, it was something that I could get behind and support, and that was really...
Well, I imagine the demand was there, so you're talking about the production of it, but also probably the big logistics issue in terms of distribution. But talk to us about PB&J. The acronym is Beyond Peanut Butter and Jelly, or...
Peanut butter, it's PB&J for Good.
Okay, yeah.
Is the name of the event. And again, this is an initiative of Stop SAM. So I formed Stop SAM. Well, I've been involved with this cause for maybe 6 years.
Okay.
I co-founded Stop Sam about 3 years ago with a guy on the West Coast by the name of Luke Micey. But our mission, Stop Sam's mission, is to essentially raise money to purchase packets of what's known as ready-to-use therapeutic food,
Okay.
which is this peanut butter paste, this peanut butter concoction. And so we raise money in a number of different ways, but one of our key initiatives is the PB&J for Good event, which is aimed at the restaurant community. And it's very simple. We encourage or enlist restaurants to participate. Basically, if they do participate, the expectation is that they will put a peanut butter-inspired dish on their menu for a 10-day period during the event. And for the past 2 years, we start the event on September 16th, which is World Food Day.
Right.
And it runs for a 10-day period. So the participating restaurants come up with an interesting and creative and hopefully delicious peanut butter-inspired dish.
Okay.
They promote it during that period, and they share all or part of the proceeds from the sale of that dish, or donate all or part of the proceeds to Stop Sam. And then Stop Sam takes that money and buys these packets.
That's powerful. I wonder how many of those menu items stay on the menu due to the demand, and if they offer to keep paying it forward.
You know, nobody's offered to send more money. But
thanks for the tip, Sam.
But I don't know. I know that some of the
I'm sure
dishes have been
there's
very
some
popular.
inspiration.
The ones I've tried, they for the most part were all delicious, and I would certainly order them again.
Yeah.
So some of those folks are Canoe, looks like Blue Ridge Grill. Olan's, that's over in my neighborhood, Sandy Springs.
I've been to Cafe Jonah on the Sunday thing that they have, the brunch, where you give whatever they used to anyways in that spot over there.
Yeah, you may not be aware, but Cafe Jonah is owned by Super Jenny.
Yeah, yes, I do. Yeah.
On Farm Burger and Hard Rock. So obviously they create that peanut butter inspired recipe or add that to their menu. So did you mention the percentage that they then donate, or how does that work, or the as a customer, or?
Well, I think at this stage it varies by restaurant. Some restaurants will donate the entire amount. Others will donate a percentage of it, maybe the profit margin that they have in that dish. And others, frankly, they don't keep track of it, but they write us a check at the end. You know, at this point, we're trying to build the PB&J brand and get a lot of restaurants participating and get this to build over the years. And so we haven't set too many sort of hard and fast rules about
goodwill.
Well, when you're taking donations, it's you're not going to check their books and come in and monitor each dish, whatever. But what a great kind of tie-in with those folks around the world. And I want to get to this subject about that stage of malnutrition. But here in the U.S. and specifically in Atlanta, where our studio happens to take place, so these restaurants participate, and as a patron, I'm going to order a side dish or a dessert. I mean, that's a win-win.
Yeah,
it is.
Right?
It is.
And for 10 days, I mean, that's reasonable, because if you do extend it, the entire year, it kind of dilutes the effort, and it ties into that World Hunger Day you mentioned.
Yes,
as well.
And there's restaurants are here, especially here in Atlanta, are pulled in a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
There's a lot of events and initiatives for them to participate in. So you've got to find a way to fit into what they've already committed to.
Get your niche,
It looks like you have at least 20 some odd more restaurants. So
50.
Oh, 50. Okay. And so we got lots more questions. Let's kind of give out some point of contact, all right, for folks that are listening, whether restaurateurs or other folks in the community that want to kind of find out about your group and organization. What would be a good point to send them to?
I would say stopsam.org.
Okay.
www.stopsam.org. That not only tells the story, but there's a contact us link on that site. But yeah, we would welcome reach outs, donations, whatever anybody's inclined to do.
So they don't have to wait for World Hunger Day to write out a check.
Of course not.
We raise money
year round.
And at that website, there's that 2-minute video and also all the social media links. So let's come back to, can you tell some stories around other parts of the world and describe a little bit more of that final point of malnutrition? And are there what's the age ranges? Is it mostly infants or?
It's generally defined as 6 months to 6 years,
Okay.
which is the critical stage of development.
Right.
Severe acute malnutrition actually, unfortunately, kills almost 4 million children a year, but there's another 20 plus million that survive it, but they are stunted typically for life. So that early stage of development is when the brain develops, and if you don't have proper nutrition during that period, even if you survive it, your life is severely affected, and ultimately that puts a big burden on these communities and these societies. So it is a huge worldwide problem. Just to put it in context, one of the ways in which, and frankly, probably the most common way in which they determine if somebody's reached that stage is the measurement of the upper arm circumference. And once that is about the size of a quarter, literally a quarter,
wow,
that is deemed to have reached that stage, which is categorized as severe acute malnutrition. And there are children suffering from this all over the world. I mean, Africa is obviously the part of the world which I guess most people commonly
comes to mind. Yeah.
Commonly relate to famine and famine relief, but it's a problem throughout Asia, certain parts of Latin America.
Well, when you have a natural disaster like in Haiti, the ripple effect of that, right?
Absolutely. And actually, right now, and you've probably seen stories of this on the news, but there are a lot of people starving in Syria.
Wow. Let me take a look at the product you were just mentioning, and let's so kind of walk us through for the listeners the process here. So someone makes that donation, and then y'all produce and then ship this, and it is like this paste. And then and what's the business model, if you will, kind of the distribution and?
Well, there's sort of three parts of the process. The money has to be raised to buy it. Somebody has to make it, and then it has to be distributed. Stop Sam's focus is specifically on raising the money to buy it. Interestingly enough, and that packet that I handed you is produced by an organization called Manna Nutrition. It's a very interesting story behind Manna Nutrition. A guy by the name of Mark Moore founded it, and he was inspired by the same 60 Minutes piece. He watched the same 60 Minutes piece that I did. And while I was inspired enough to get involved, he was inspired enough to quit his job. He was an aide to a United States senator and devote his life to this. He raised $10 to $12 million and has built a plant in South Georgia.
Oh, wow.
And Manna is now one of the biggest producers of this treatment in the world. Out of that plant in South Georgia, they produce about 300,000 of these packets a day.
Just this?
Just that.
Wow.
And the simplicity of it and that people can take action. Let's talk about kind of the cost of this, but it mentions on the label,
Three packets per day for 6 weeks will save a child from dying.
Right.
Not help them, but actually turn that around, right?
Yeah. So, those are 500-calorie packets, and 3 of these packets a day, which, by the way, one of the real benefits of this product is that it's administered at home by the mother.
Yeah.
Whereas the traditional treatments for severe acute malnutrition required hospitalization, requires sources of fresh water, which oftentimes don't exist. And even then, those treatments were typically only about 35% effective. With what's known as ready-to-use therapeutic food, or this peanut butter paste, child eats 3 of these packets a day for 6 to 7 weeks, and about 98% of the time they return to normal weight.
That's remarkable.
And again, kind of the simplicity of it is you mentioned like a treatment, which conjures up bringing in a medical professional, the tools, the amount of the prescription, how it's administered, gets very complicated very quick, right? But here you're talking about a mother with a child, 3 packets a day. And also, as a contributor, I think people can really wrap their minds around that. It's not a complicated, but the impact is far-reaching.
Well, these packets, or a 6 to 7 week treatment, cost about $50 in total. And so when you look at it in that context, I don't think there's anything else in the world that gives you that kind of bang for the buck.
Right.
You're pretty much guaranteed to save a life for a $50 contribution.
Very dramatic. And just want to remind our listeners listening to Georgia Business Radio, we're having a conversation with the co-founder of Stop SAM, that is the severe acute malnutrition. And Mike Levison is our guest here on today's show. Let's talk about we talked about this result and that $50 and change, if you will, and 98% results in terms of helping a child not just prevent help with their food and their diet, but turn things around. How many children are we talking about as a result?
You mean the result
that you've helped?
Yeah, it's helped.
Well, the PB&J event this year raised enough money to treat about 700 children. Last year it was about 400.
Wow.
Since we founded Stop SAM, we have purchased 2 container loads of this, which would treat about 2,500 children.
Oh, my gosh.
But again, the need is much bigger.
Oh, yeah, big time. Yeah, that's just...
we're doing our part.
Just getting started. So we go back to kind of the restaurants. And again, I was thinking, you may have seen on the board, but we host in our studio several shows. And I'm thinking, we should have some restaurants in here for example, on the Georgia Business Show or the restaurant show, and continue the conversation as well. But talking about restaurants, what are some dishes? Have you tried some unique recipes at some of these restaurants, or?
Yeah, no question about it. A lot of the chefs really get into this, and they want to show their stuff, so to speak. I've had everything from peanut butter glazed pork belly to
wow, oh, man, that sounds good.
Yeah, to all kinds of cakes, tarts, pastries, ice cream. The majority of restaurants will tend to do a dessert dish because it's a sort of a natural fit. But
what about a peanut butter flavored beer? Is that
I think we had a peanut butter flavored shot.
Oh, okay, yeah.
By one of the participating bars, but no, I haven't seen a beer yet.
Yeah.
Good idea though.
Right.
So, how can Atlanta's help support this fortified solution for life, as I would call it, throughout the year?
Well, like so many of these causes and needs, at the end of the day, it does boil down to money. Mm-hmm, so, as I said, hard to find a cause that provides a bigger bang for the buck. So we certainly encourage people to make donations, and they can do that at stopsam.org. We do have a number of other initiatives that are sort of on the drawing board right now. PB&J is sort of the main local initiative, and that's a once-a-year event. One of the things that we hope to do this coming year is to enlist a broader base of support, so people we'll look for people to become table captains and be responsible for organizing a dinner with their friends at one of the participating restaurants. And really there are a number of ways in which we plan to get people involved. We'll probably announce those initiatives as we get closer to next year's event.
You mentioned earlier about, I'm sure there's like a minimum order for them to start cranking it up out there, Mike, and them in South Georgia. What is that minimum? I mean, they don't make are they making packs every day? Or
every day, 300,000 a day. We're just a small piece of the total puzzle. UNICEF is actually the largest purchaser of this product worldwide. So they plant in South Georgia, and there are others around the world that are producing.
Plants.
Yes,
okay.
There are others around the world that produce it. They are pretty much running around the clock, filling orders from a lot of different organizations, but the big what's known as NGOs are the ones that are placing the biggest orders, and these facilities are fulfilling those orders.
With a theme and a name like PB&J, it seems like there's a natural fit for you all to work something out with the schools and a lot of these fundraisers that they have. And my wife's a school teacher, and some of the stuff that they're selling is like, really? Really? I could see children running around, selling these packets. Have you done any of those type of ventures?
Well, we have had some school support, but to be honest with you, with many schools, you mentioned the word peanut.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah. The liability.
It's like no thanks.
Yeah.
For some reason we
Maybe
have
the colleges
allergies.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe the colleges. Throwback for the college students. You never grow out of PB&J.
Or I got an idea. Is if you're talking because it's I kept looking at the show notes and PB&J, peanut butter and jelly, but you're not. That's not really. That's just kind of catches people's imagination. Name. How about for the schools and the donations? It's like we'll sell you the bread and the jelly, and then we'll donate the peanut butter. Right.
Now, one thing that we have done. And I guess you would classify this as a school initiative, and we see big potential in this long term. Is that we have set up a couple of PB&J for Good chapters.
There you go. Okay.
One at North Springs High School here in Atlanta, and then another high school up in Connecticut. And so these are after-school clubs, and students are encouraged to participate in these types of clubs. It looks good on their college
and goodwill
applications
and the social interaction. Yeah,
right. And so. Those clubs basically set a goal. Basically, we suggest that each member commit to, I'm going to save one child's life. I'm going to raise enough money to save one child's life. And they have various fundraising initiatives to do that. It isn't necessarily peanut butter based.
Yeah, and you don't have to have the product because they're not going to be eating it. They're sending it.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. But it could be a car wash. There are other ways in which they save money. And then it's sort of their annual fundraising project.
Gotcha.
So we do see big potential in that. And it's a good way to educate youth on the issue and the solution.
Because it's easy for us in this great country to take a lot of things for granted as we do. And I think it's very important that we remind our youth as they grow to not to grow into more entitlement than they already have. So, yeah.
We just have a few more minutes remaining on the show. I do have a couple of quick follow-up questions on. I don't know if this is still in place. Before the show, we went to your Facebook page or from the video. There was an initiative about liking, and there would be a contribution made on behalf, or is that still in place? Or
it is still in place. We haven't promoted it as heavily as we did at the beginning, but when we first started, we got several thousand likes. Contributions were made for every one of those likes, and we still periodically go back and check. But
well, that's good because this is evergreen content, so this will be ever promoting.
Because we saw the video, so we did a couple of likes here from the studio.
I invited dozens of folks to like it as well.
Excellent.
So
a few celebrities in your list as well. You invited. So, all right. So, remind our listeners the best way to kind of what's the point of contact, website, how they can get involved. Obviously, well, real quick, the other question I did have, or statement, is that on the site I was looking at the donation. We've been talking about $50 will save a child, but people can donate in increments of $5 to $25. It says, right?
Absolutely, yes. Every little bit helps. I think the treatment, the full treatment, is $50. It's something that's easy for people to get their heads around, and it's tangible. But certainly, every little bit helps.
Well, that's awesome.
All right, and the website again.
www.stopsam.org.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure having you here on Food and Beverage Radio, and we're excited to help kind of get the word out for you and tell your story, and welcome to have you back for updates in the future as well.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here.
Thank you again for joining Rich Casanova and his guests on the Pro Business Channel. Use the social media links here to share today's show and stay tuned for the next episode of Food and Beverage Radio.